Today we're going to talk about determining gender of a baby. So pregnancy is always a really exciting time, and one of the first questions you get asked are you finding out the gender, or is it a boy, or is it a girl? Well, thankfully you don't have to wait until the birth of the child any longer to find out. Gender can be determined as early as 7 weeks. So let's talk about how it is determined. Sex can be obviously determined by the external genitalia of a penis or a vagina, the gonad difference of ovaries or testes, but it's also seen in chromosomes. So mothers can contribute only an X chromosome to the baby because a woman's chromosomal identity is XX. It is the male with the X and the Y chromosome, or XY, that determine gender because they can contribute one or the other. There are some issues that can happen, however, if a zygote receives a Y but not an X, meaning that they got the Y from the father but nothing from the mother. The zygote will die because the chromosome carries some much needed genes for development on the X chromosome. There is also an instance where an X chromosome is received, but only one instead of two. In that case, it's called Turner syndrome. The child will develop normally, but may be sterile as far as not being able to reproduce or not have normal functioning of their reproductive organs. Last case that I want to talk about is if the zygote receives two X's from the mother and a Y from the father, or if they receive an X from the mother and both the X and Y from the father. So if there's any instance of an X, and a Y, the combination is possible, but because the presence of the Y chromosome, this zygote will be male. So moving on, before taking a closer look at the gender, we do need to look at why gender can't be determined right away in a pregnancy. Before certain signals occur, which we will talk about later, embryos are bipotential, or they contain undifferentiated genitalia, meaning it's not a boy or a girl just yet. This is because there are two different types of embryonic accessory ducts. So the Mullerian ducts and the Wolfram ducts both exist until the signal takes place. So you can see it in this picture here. This signal is in the form of the sex-determining region of the Y chromosome, also called the SRY gene. So again, this is either present or absent due to there either being a Y chromosome or not. The Y chromosome in males presents this gene, and Wolfram ducts are prompted to become male genitalia. Because only one set of ducts is needed, the Wolfram ducts would disintegrate if the SRY gene is present in the male. So the opposite is true for girls. So with no Y chromosome, the SRY gene is absent, meaning the Mullerian ducts would remain while the Wolfram ducts disintegrates. So how do they disintegrate? Let's take a closer look. In males, the SRY gene, which is again coming from the Y chromosome, is only the beginning of the gene-activated sequence of events. SRY is responsible for releasing testes determining factor, also known as TDF. TDF goes on to activate a list of genes, namely the SOX or SOX9, WT1, and SF1. So these genes then themselves release proteins. Those proteins produced are responsible for the Wolfram ducts to differentiate into the testes. So it's only after the testes are formed that hormones come into play. And those hormones are responsible for continuing development of the Wolfram ducts. So they are responsible for Mullerian duct disintegration, namely by the anti-Mullerian hormone, which comes from the Sertoli cells of the newly formed testes. Testosterone is a well-known hormone, and this is when it first comes into play. It comes from testicular Leydig cells and converts the duct into more genitalia structures. It also helps the testes descend into the scrotum later in development. Finally, DHT hormones, which are also produced from the Leydig cells, finalize the rest of the external genitalia. It is malfunctions of the DHT hormones that come into play in hermaphrodite situations. So in these instances, DHT is not produced, so the external genitalia is not developed, making the child seem as if they were a girl when they were born. And then when puberty comes along, the testosterone does give them the more masculine effects. So that is the cause of that. Lastly, we will talk about female development and the hormones involved in that. So females lack that SRY gene, again coming from the Y chromosome, and this is because they don't contain a Y chromosome. Without this gene, additional proteins are not released, meaning that AMH, or that anti-Mullerian hormone, is not developed. This means that the Mullerian ducts remain, and they go on to develop into ovarian tissue, specifically the uterus and fallopian tubes, as well as the upper vagina. Because testosterone and DHT are not present, the Wolfram ducts disintegrate and external genitalia become feminine. Although this seems quite simple, there is much more to it, and I encourage you to delve deeper into the topic. But for now, I understand this process as the embryo is going to be a female unless signaling from the Y chromosome affects otherwise. Last but not least here, these are my references as far as the images that I used for the presentation, and then Silverthorn is the book where I got all this information from.